Sandra Solomon, I would like you to explain, if you would, how you view your activism in terms of association with other Canadian groups or even groups outside Canada. Do you see yourself as a spokesperson for any particular organization?
Well, I started my involvement into political activity as independent activist, and I am still independent activist. I don't speak for any group or any organization. As I said it before, I'm individual human rights activist, and I'm not responsible about any other people action or their statements on whatever they do, also like whether mistakes and or their direction as well.
Okay, terrific. That's good to know. Also, I know that you came to Canada to escape some pretty harsh conditions for women in Saudi Arabia, and I think we're seeing more evidence of that every day. More news coming out of Saudi Arabia about them kidnapping women back who tried to escape and executing people who are apostates. I believe they just executed someone today who was convicted of apostasy or being an atheist, technically. So I'm wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of traumas that you had to endure before you made it to Canada.
Yes, it was a very, very difficult time. As I said it before, living under Sharia law, it's a hell, especially for women. I went through a lot of persecution in every level. I was forced to wear the niqab and the hijab. I was forced to submit to Sharia law. I never had my freedom of speech, as I always was criticizing Quran and Muhammad, the founder of Islam, and I've been always criticizing the Islamic way of life. It lead me to a lot of persecution everywhere, from the school, from my family. I end up they forced me into a marriage. They forced me into a marriage. I was like, it was not marriage. It was raped. It was not something that I wanted, and based on that, I had to escape. That was you don't escape something that you enjoy, right? So I was like, I felt like I was in jail, and finally I gained my freedom when I came to Canada. So I am a survivor of Islam, and I'm proud Canadian, and I'm proud that I live in Canada freely, and I'm happy that I'm able to speak and I'm able to learn raise awareness about the danger of the Islamic ideology, that I have first-hand experience on it.
Yes, interestingly, I believe that the Islamic term forced marriage is what we here in the West called an oxymoron. Um,
Yes.
the now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have a statement prepared that you would like to.
Yes, I have a statement to say it to everyone, and I would love to say to anyone who's gonna listen to me, that we all human being. No one is perfect. What I've been through, it's not easy. And I wish that every woman who are survived any fascist or any sub ideology that oppress women from any faith or from any country around the world. I encourage every woman not to submit to anything that's gonna oppress her or take her as a human being, take her rights as a free human being who wants to live freely, and to speak out against any oppression, and also to be a role model for many women who's oppressed, to give them hope that we're gonna be always the voice for the voiceless. And that's my encouragement, and the reason that I want to give this statement, to just clarify some misunderstanding or misconceptions that it's happened. Many people, they're not really fully understanding sometimes my reaction toward what's going on in Canada, and not just in Canada, around the world, when it comes to the Islamization of the West and the destruction of the civilized world. That's why sometimes people got confused with some action that I made. But today, I hope it will bring better understanding. And I will read to you the statement if you don't mind. Okay. During the last year, I have been involved in activities to defend Canadian values, including free speech and against radical Islam. As a victim of Islamic Sharia law that is being implemented in Saudi Arabia, I hold dear to my heart the Canadian values that are enshrined in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. My life story was not a walk in the park. It was ongoing nightmare. I was abused and beaten just because I refused to wear the niqab and the hijab and started questioning the Islamic faith. My brother tried to kill me after he saw me talking to a boy. My forced marriage did not bring any change. In fact, I was raped for almost 5 years. This is the Islamic Sharia law that I know. A girl must be obedient to her father and her brothers, and if she dare to cross the line, she may be murdered. Avoid the shame of her family. The wife must be obedient to her husband at all times, even when he calls her to bed. And if she rebel, he is allowed to beat her as a disciplinary measure. Many times I have been asked by Canadians, why didn't I leave Saudi Arabia earlier? The question shows the lack of knowledge in the West about the Islamic Sharia law. In Saudi Arabia, a woman cannot leave home without being escorted by a male relative, let alone flying by herself outside of the country. The Sharia Islamic law puts women under severe restrictions. Their home becomes a jail. Their clothes are a portable cage, and all their activities are under constant supervision of the males. I rebelled. I risked my life, and eventually I managed to arrive in Canada. The soul searching process led me to Jesus Christ and its message of peace and love. But it came with a heavy toll. All these years under Islamic Sharia law shaped my life for the good and the bad. You cannot imagine the rage that I felt toward those who stole my childhood, my innocence, and my adult life. I had no one to help me or even listen to comfort me. When I became an activist, I wanted to show them that I survived, that I am alive and I am free, that I can now speak my mind and they cannot beat me, rape me, or kill me. That was my little victory after so many years of abuse and oppression. Looking back, I've learned that the last year was also a year of healing from the deep wounds that my life in Saudi Arabia left in my soul. It was a long process with ups and downs, with dreams and nightmares, with hopes and fears, with achievements and also mistakes. The rage over the dark past, the memories of being abused, raped, and almost murdered made me, in some cases, make some poor decisions and choices that I regret today. I would like to use this opportunity to publicly and sincerely apologize to those who felt offended by my statements and actions. Yes, I made mistakes, but I sincerely apologize to fellow activists for any poor decision or naive choices of association. I would like also to thank those who unconditionally helped me in my healing process. Special thanks are reserved to Never Again Canada for supporting my cross country tour to tell Canadians my life story in Saudi Arabia. Today, I feel more empowered to speak freely about the horror of my childhood and my adult life under the Islamic Sharia law. I wish that it will serve and source of inspiration for other women. I am opening a page in my life which I will dedicate to women's rights. All women from all faiths, cultures, and backgrounds. I will keep fighting for the Canadian values of democracy, pluralism, free speech, freedom of religion, separation of states and religion, values that are enshrined in the Charter of Rights and Freedom. And final thing, I want to say to everyone that I love Canada and I'm standing for every Canadian, and we are together. And as I always say, we put Canada first and Canadian first, and we stand on guard for thee.